Sairam. You're listening to Sai Soul 100, a weekly podcast series with soul, or stories of unconditional love, shared by devotees of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba in celebration of his 100th birthday. We invite you to listen in on these motivational stories of his constant loving presence in devotees' lives, offered at his lotus feet by the Sri Satya Sai International Organization USA Mid-Atlantic region. Welcome to Sai Soul 100.
Sairam, dear listeners, welcome to Sai Soul 100. Our guest today is Brother Raj Lowtan, who's joining us from Ellicott City, Maryland. He'll be sharing a story of how he was guided by Swami. Sairam, Brother Raj, thank you for joining us.
Sairam, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Please share your story.
I grew up in a traditional Hindu home and, with all these rituals and practices. While I was growing up as a young boy, my neighbors started to follow Swami. So I started to hear about Swami from a young age, though I did not pay much attention or follow him from then. He was always there on the right side of us. Then I continued to hear more and more, and then I heard of a gentleman who had gone to India from Trinidad, and Swami healed his illness, which was terminal. And he introduced Swami in 1974 to Trinidad. And so I continued to hear more and more. And then at school, my teacher started to read from the Man of Miracles, but he said, you all should keep this quiet, don't say much. So Swami was always there. He was in the back of my mind. So when I came to USA, I went to a friend's house. And at this friend's house, there was this photograph of Swami. And there, the photograph Swami started to communicate to me, ask about me, find out about me. So I started to speak to them, ask about them, and they gave me a book called the Avatar. And when I read that book, I said, this is God. This is what I've been looking for. And so from there, I started my journey to Swami. Then I mentioned to Chandani, I said, let's go to the center. That time we were in New York. And so we went to the center. And the first day I went to the center, lo and behold, Dr. Samuel Sunwise was speaking at the center. And I had the pleasure of meeting with him. And to my good fortune, to show you how Swami's hand is there before, in the end, the Swami told me to become a psychiatrist. And here, Dr. Sunwise is himself a psychiatrist. So you don't know. And his hand is always there with you. So from there, we started, and I started to read more books. Was going through a difficult time at that time when I was there in New York, searching, going to the center, engaging in the activities. So I continued to grow, and then I kept vacillating back and forth. And then Swami says, you have to make a decision. Do you want the world or do you want me? And when I committed to Swami, that I want Swami. And from that point on, then if you want me, then you must do what I say. And I started to practice what Swami said, Jyoti meditation, looking at the inner enemies, looking at myself carefully, and getting rid of the inner enemies. And so I continued, and after many months of meditation and prayer, I used to wear a pendant of Swami. And this is long before I even went to Parti or had any direct experience of going to India. And Swami, in that pendant, Vibhuti started to form. And there, after many months again, as I continued to purify the heart became golden. Gold particles started to form within the pendant.
This is the pendant that you had before even going to Parthi to see Swami.
Exactly.
And because of the purification the efforts that you were putting in, you started having vibhuti coming out of the pendant, gold particles?
Yes, independent.
Independent, wow, okay.
Swami was showing me how, with doing what he says, believing and doing what he says, he was making the intangible tangible to me to give me that experience. So with that as my foundation, I continued to Swami's teaching. I was still going through a difficult time because it's you have to, you know, look at your own self, look at all your own emotions, look at your own thoughts, etc. So it was not an easy process, and I continued to work on all the things that I need for everyday life also, which was important to me. But one of the biggest transformations that came across is looking at the glass as half full and having gratitude to Swami for all the small things that in my life that he had blessed me with. And that completely changed my perspective when I looked at all the small details in my spiritual transformation, because in those small details, I found Swami in everything that I was doing. And I continued that process. And then in 1994, Hal Honig was taking a group to India, and I signed up for that group to go. But Swami, in my meditation and prayer, Swami kept saying, I am always with you, you don't have to come. I'm always with you, you don't have to come. But even though I was getting that message, my grief was that I wanted to go. I wanted to see Swami. So I told Hal to remove my name from the group. But then I had one more part, the board exams here to take. It so happened that I sent the application, but I had two minds about sending the application. I sent it and the application reached late, and they sent back my application and money. And I told Chandani I was quite disappointed in that process. But then she says, that's a cue for Swami, for you to go to Swami. So I called Hal again, says, put my name back. He said, sure, we'd love to have you. And so I made that journey to India. And when we went there were 22 of us in that group with Hal Honig. And that time, the first part of Sai Kulwant Hall was being constructed.
What year was this?
This was 1994.
Okay.
And Swami was in Whitefield. But when we arrived in Whitefield, we got rooms outside of the ashram and we went there. And Swami, for the 22 of us, Swami sent 22 laddus through the warden of the hostel for us, letting us know that we were there. So on that first Sunday, the President of India, Shankar Dayal Sharma, he gave a talk, then Swami gave a talk. And the next morning, Swami came. We all were in there in Sai Ramesh Hall. You sit in rectangles and you leave the paths open for Swami to walk. So it so happened I was at the end of the row. And Swami came and he walked all around, gave darshan, and he came and stood in front of me. My heart wanted to jump out of my chest at that point because I was nervous. And there he kept looking at me and I kept looking at him. And when I was at the Manhattan Center, I would usually write letters and give others who were going, and I will also mail letters to Swami to write him about only spiritual things and how to advance me spiritually. And Swami was receiving all of that. Swami came and stood in front of me, but I was offering the letters. But here he was giving the clue to the side of me. Another person was asking Swami Pad Namaskar, Pad Namaskar. Swami was telling me to take Pad Namaskar. I was completely in state of shock there at that time. So he refused to take my letters. And he took the letters of another friend in the group from behind of me. But before Swami came out for darshan that day, while I was sitting in the darshan hall, I meditated on Swami. I says, Lord, you said the biggest obstacle of self-realization is the ego. Help me to dissolve that ego. So when Swami came and stood in front of me, he took the letters of the person behind me and he went around to the front. It hurt a lot. It hurt me a lot. But by the time Swami went to the front of the group and he was speaking to Mr. Hal Honig, I realized what Swami had done. And I clasped my hand to him and I says, oh, thank you, Lord. You were listening to every thought that I was having. And he looked up at me and smiled. So that afternoon, I wrote a very detailed letter of gratitude to Bhagwan. And the next morning, he came to me and he took all the letters from my hand and he went around and he gave darshan and he came back to me. And he kept looking at me until I burst into tears. And he showered so much love onto me and then he walked away. he invited us to leave Whitefield and go back to Purty. And so he told Mr. Hal Honig about that, and we all followed him to Purty. Those days you could have carried candies, and Swami would bless it, and Swami would walk, take letters, etc. So it was lovely. And so when I went to Purty, I became very ill. But luckily, others had told me that when you usually go, Swami accelerates your karma and you become sick. So I became very ill with fever, cold, bronchitis, etc. And I kept praying to him, and I had another member of the group gave me vibhuti. I had vibhuti, and that was all I had. And I did not know. And I said, Swami, you have to take care of me because I do not know anyone here. And so every day he will either throw candies, I would end up getting a candy. Just that was my medicine. And that made me feel so good. And then on the 12th of September, Mr. Hal Honig was usually sat on the veranda, and Swami told him to call the group for an interview. When I saw all the people from my group rushing towards the veranda, I got up also and followed him. He was standing at the pillar closest to the door behind that pillar, ushering the women into the room, ushering the men into the room. But as I approached the pillar, I saw it was Swami. I clasped my hands and I turned to Swami, and Swami held me. When Swami held my hand, he held my arm on my left forearm, left arm itself. He held it. And he held it so tightly. And electricity was going through my body. And I am turned to him with my hand clasped. And he's smiling, and I am smiling. And two of us are looking at each other like long lost friends. And electricity was going through my body. And then he stopped to one member of the group and he says, wait, allow this gentleman to go into the room. And so he ushered everyone in. Swami came, he closed the doors, he put the lights on, he put the fan on. And then the room was so small, we were all crowded there. There wasn't any space for Swami to walk and go to his chair. And then Swami says, move, move, move. This is not America. Men and women do not sit together. So while going on to his chair, Swami took his hand and he put it on my head very hard, and he squeezed my head with his hand. And after he did that, I felt so light. I felt like everything was removed from me. Everything that was burdening me was gone. And he went and he sat on his chair. And then he started to ask us, he says, why did you all come here? So in that group was also Miss B Flag, who recently passed, I think sometime last year or the year before, who was highly involved in the education coordination for the organization in the USA. And he had kept holding her hands all through the interview with such love because her husband had just passed. So then Swami asked all of us, we all gave different answers. We came to see you, Swami. We came to get recharged. We came for your darshan. We came for your blessing. Swami says, no, no, no. You don't have to spend all that money to come here. I am also there in USA. I'm also there in New York. You all left wife, children, everyone, and come here. So much hardship. So, and then he started to address everyone in the room. He spoke about rehabilitation of criminals, that you don't kill, you don't cause more pain. That's how you teach them. He spoke to a young boy how not to waste time. He went around the room and then he turned to me and he spoke to me in a language which I did not understand. Twice he addressed me in a language which I did not understand. And then he says, where are you from? So I told him, I says, originally from Trinidad, Swami, but now I'm USA. He says, what are you doing there? I says, I'm in medicine, Swami. He says, what year are you in? I says, I've finished, Swami. I'm writing exam. He says, what do you want to do? I says, you choose for me, O Lord, what you want me to do. He said, what do you like? So I told him what I liked, internal medicine and psychiatry. But that time I wanted to do a combination residency. He says, psychiatry. You do psychiatry. And then I was contented. I was happy. Swami gave me direction. I was there. And then he asked me, he says, "What do you want?" And I was completely stunned when Swami asked me what I want. And then he kind of get up from the chair and he leaned forward in a very heavy tone. He says, "What do you want?" And I clasped my hand. And I remember a quote of Paramahansa Yogananda at that time, how to speak to God. And I clasped my hands to him and I says, "Oh Lord, I want you." And Swami opened his arms. He says, "You want me? Come." And I went forward. That love that I experienced from Bhagwan, I've never experienced it again. I mean, I've not experienced it in the material world of this earth. He says, "Come." And that interaction was filled with so much. I burst into tears. The words could not come out of my mouth. I went down to his feet. I kissed his feet. He put his hand on my head. He says, "Good boy, good boy." While I was there on his feet, he materialized a ring. He held my hand. I was practically on his lap. I put both of my hands on his lap. He took my left hand. He put the ring on my finger. And then he whispered some personal things to me. And he says, "Character and honor is everything." And then after he gave me all that love, he peppered me with all the wrong things and the negative things in my life and the things that I was doing and the things that I was thinking about. But his mother's love, he did that. I listened to all of it. And from that day onward, you know, it has only been him. Then he threw me into the world. He threw me into the world. Now it's time for you. I've taken you up to a certain point. I want you to go and work. And so I launched my life into the world of work, has been focusing on work, but always with him, always guiding, asking his guidance, continue asking his guidance. Then again, after that, we kept going on a yearly basis. So happened for 75th birthday in that year, I went 3 times. Even though I was in work, I couldn't have enough of Swami because that love, you are chasing your source, going after that and experiencing that love and bliss. And all of that, he would continue to take my letters. He would continue to give me guidance. And then in 2001, when he opened the hospital in Whitefield, I had gone with Auntie Sheila and Uncle Ramesh. With that group, Swami also invited us to the opening of ceremony and of the hospital there. And then on that trip, Swami materialized Vibhuti and he gave it to me. And the Vibhuti was like crystals. And I kept it and I gave Chandani some and I ate that Vibhuti. And then after that, I became the president of the Baltimore Center, and he had me there for 4 years. And it has been quite a long journey. And then he allowed me, even while I was president, to go and spend 3 months with him in Parti in 2003. I had finished a very difficult fellowship, which was quite physically exhausting, and I just needed a break from everything. And I went and I spent 3 months there in Parti with him. And Swami gave me significant guidance. And he showed me whatever little doubts I had in my mind, he removed it. He showed me that he was the source. And one of the meditations there in Darshan, I sat down there and Swami came as this bright white light and there was absolute silence. And then he allowed me to hear what he listens to of being God, all the pains and complaints and desires and the wishes that he has here to. It became unbearable. So I asked him, I says, "No, I don't want. I don't want." And because it was so loud and disturbing.
This is the light, the bright light that you were
Yes,
saying?
yes, yes. But
Yes.
he allowed me to hear what he hears on a constant basis.
Oh, you were hearing what Swami was hearing.
Yes, what he hears from the entire creation and what he has to deal with on
Wow.
a daily basis. And I couldn't bear it. I says, no, Swami, no, I cannot bear it. Came back to the ground. Throughout all of this, in 2003 was significant also. He blessed a pair of padukas for me, and that was really really special for us. Those padukas are here at home, and we have continued our worship, and I continue to devote everything to him. But to do what he says means you have to have trust in God. You have to have confidence in God. You have to believe every word that he says. You have to trust what he says. And that's what I did from the very initial, from the early 90s. I said, Swami, you say to do this, I'll do this. I chose you and you say to do this, I did it. And when I did it, he responded by making the intangible tangible in my life. So that's a personal experience that I have that cannot change, that I trusted Swami. I did what Swami said and Swami responded.
Yes. So, Brother Raj, thank you so much. I mean, you were given an opportunity to reflect and choose Swami. And the moment you chose Swami, you were able to see the Lord's hand in every small details and then made intangible become tangible. That's such a beautiful, miraculous, transformative story that you have shared. And you also went on to say that many inspirational moments here, but it's also Swami behind everything that is happening to us. And all we need to do is trust in God, trust in Swami. The diligent pursuit of Bhagavan does give us that insight and the guidance needed to pursue our journey in whatever role that Swami wants us to play. Thank you so much for being here at Sai Soul 100, Brother Raj.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Swami, for giving me the opportunity.
Sairam, dear listeners, just a side note, please subscribe to our Sai Soul 100 channel and click on the bell in order to get notifications of upcoming Sai Soul 100 stories. Thank you for joining Sai Soul 100 with Brother Raj Lowtan. I'm Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sairam.